Cyberpunk 2077 was a really messy game at launch that I'm sure most of you remember, but it slowly clawed its way back with tons of patches, and with the recent 2.0 patch, you could say it's a whole new game. In this video, I will be talking about why I feel Cyberpunk is so great right now even though it still has some flaws. Keep in mind that I won't be talking about Phantom Liberty as I have saved that for another video. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. The biggest problem of Cyberpunk was always its bugs, and it has mostly been dealt with. You will now be able to complete missions completely fine, and no game-breaking bugs will appear, unlike how it was at launch. In fact, this game was mostly fixed in update 1.6, which was near the time when Edge Runners was released, and now it's improved even more. That's not to say it's perfect though. I still have some random funny NPC glitches that are not that much of a big deal since it's not game breaking. The one that annoys me though is that your vehicle sometimes spawns a bit too far from you, which can be annoying. I also had some occasions where the car will just go in the opposite direction and never reach me. At least it doesn't happen too often, but it's kind of an inconvenience when it occurs. Aside from those problems, the game runs completely fine on my PS5 and I have not had any game-breaking bugs in my 130 hours of gameplay. I'm still annoyed with the vehicle spawns, but other than that, CD Projekt Red has achieved their overall goal of fixing the tons of game-breaking bugs they had from launch, which is a great thing as more people will now be able to experience this amazing game. I have always enjoyed the story of Cyberpunk 2077 cause V and Johnny both go through some interesting character arcs throughout their whole journey. Since it's an RPG, you can choose how your character will go through this development, which is a neat thing. The side characters are great as well, and some of them really help to build V as a character while simultaneously building themselves up as well. The premise of the story is quite intriguing, and it has the brilliant backdrop of the beautiful yet tragic Night City. There is tons of interesting lore of the various factions and corporations of Night City scattered across the world, and I never get bored whenever I decide to learn more about them. My only gripe with the story though is that it doesn't branch off as much as an RPG should. It does branch off sometimes at the Maelstrom mission where you have various options that will impact the story for the rest of the game, but it's too bad that more decisions like this aren't present in more story missions throughout the game unless you decide to fail some missions on purpose where there can be some interesting outcomes. Even The Witcher 3 has more important branching decisions that affect the story and the world of the universe for the whole game. Even your life path options don't play much of a factor in the overall story except the beginning stage of the game, which is a shame since it was hyped up so much in the beginning. Despite this game not having enough rippling decisions, it has a decent narrative that will keep you engaged for the entire experience. In fact, this is one of my favorite narratives ever told in the game. The character development is executed very well, which makes you feel for the characters, and the lore of Night City is quite interesting, which keeps you more immersed in the experience. The only thing I hope they improve upon in the sequel is having more choice throughout the story, which is most likely going to happen as they have addressed this issue quite well in Phantom Liberty. The combat in this game has always been decent, but it's been made even better by the new changes in the perk tree. Everything is easier to look at and most of the useless skills have been removed while being replaced with more useful ones such as the Edge Runner perks. These new perks allow you to focus on cyberware more while also being more careful because you can only install a certain amount at a certain level due to the risk of cyberpsychosis. I like how they are playing more into this mechanic while also referencing the Edge Runner characters in the skill tree. The new perks also allow you to use more hybrid builds now, like being a net runner using smart weapons, a samurai gunslinger, and many more. There is basically more creativity with this system and I can't wait to try out more interesting combinations. As you can see from my current playthrough, I'm using a hack and slash netrunner build that's quite fun to use due to how versatile it can be. There really are a ton of options and the weapons all feel great to use. There's also a decent variety of enemies like melee-based fighters, netrunners, snipers, and many more, which helps to keep combat interesting. One small problem is that the game feels a bit too easy at the hard difficulty and below. I know that the top difficulty exists, but even at very hard, the game can feel quite easy if you know what you are doing with your build. Don't get me wrong, this game is still a lot of fun, but I wish it was slightly more difficult at the lower difficulties. Because even at lower difficulties for other games like God of War Ragnarok and The Witcher 3, there were certain enemies that could mess you up if you weren't careful, unlike Cyberpunk. But at the end of the day, this doesn't really affect me much because I like the feeling of being a god and mowing down my enemies with ease, but I can see how this can be a problem for some people. Overall, the combat system is still a lot of fun and there is so much replay value due to the vast amount of builds you can create. The traversal in this game can be quite exciting to use and it feels quite fluid. If you invest in the dash and air dash, you will feel like an absolute speed demon in combat, especially if you're using a katana build alongside a Sandavistan. Combine that with leg cyberware, which allows you to double jump, and you get even more options in combat while allowing you to reach inaccessible parts in some missions. As for the driving in this game, I think 2.0 has made it feel a bit smoother along with the traffic being much more present. I love this change because it makes Night City feel much more alive and immerses you more in this world. However, it also affects how fast you can reach your destination, but this can be remedied with a motorcycle if you want to get to your destination as fast as possible. Overall though, I think the Traversal is quite decent. The side jobs in this game are quite interesting cause they have a ton of variety that helps to flesh out V more as well as Night City. Some of them are really memorable as well and provide decent rewards such as eddies, weapons and a few vehicles. I'm glad that most of them are unique as it makes you feel like you're not wasting your time when you are doing them. When it comes to the gigs that the fixers give you though, I wish that there was more substance to them as most of them were just invading a base and assassinating someone or stealing an item with little context. I still found these missions fun though as it was a good opportunity to showcase your skills and let the combat shine, but it would have been much better if they added more meaningful content in there. For example, in The Witcher 3 you had more context when you were doing even basic jobs which made you care for them even more. There were even choices to be made there unlike in Cyberpunk's gigs where only a few of them provided those options. At least you get some good gear, eddies and vehicles from completing these gigs, so I think they are still worthwhile to do, especially since it's so fun to engage with this game's combat system. Another good thing is that CDPR realized all these problems and fixed them in Phantom Liberty's gigs, which is a great thing. The customization in this game is still kind of a mixed bag for me. On one hand, you have tons of options to design your character as well as tons of clothing and guns that you can acquire. I love how drippy you can be in this game. However, the disappointing thing is that we can't customize our cars. There is definitely a decent variety of vehicles, but it would have been neat if we would have been able to customize each vehicle like how we could in GTA 5. But I get it, they ran out of time and I hope the next game fixes this. This is why I'm kind of 50-50 on this portion of the game because the character customization is decent while the vehicle side of things is kind of lacking. I also almost forgot to talk about the nice additions that were added in Update 2.0 like the revamped police system that is a great addition cause they feel much more realistic now. They actually work properly and will punish you if you go out of line. Vehicle combat, though a welcome addition, was sadly not implemented enough in the missions. You had to actively seek out these engagements, otherwise you would never interact with the system. Despite that though, the 2.0 additions really help to advance the game in a great way. Cyberpunk's newest update fixes almost everything. The game is in a mostly polished state right now and the combat has been made simpler while maintaining the depth that it always had. The update however did not fix some things like the lack of choices in many story missions, but is understandable since they would have to rewrite the entire game to fix that problem. There are also some minor problems remaining like the vehicle spawns not being the most accurate, which is why I believe this game is a flawed masterpiece. It still has some problems like the ones I stated, but overall it's a very decent game. It still has a very captivating story along with interesting characters and an engaging combat system. The lore of Night City is very intriguing as well and it does a lot to build on the existing things we know about the cyberpunk genre. It was a very nice setting for this game, which is why I will never forget Night City. I'm so glad that CD Projekt Red decided to dedicate their time to fix this game because underneath all of those bugs, there is something really great there. And I'm sure many of you who are playing Cyberpunk 2.0 right now can see why I think this game has tons of redeeming factors about it. So yeah, this is why I think Cyberpunk is a great time. But I would love to hear what you guys think. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, and with that being said, this has been 2367 Ruben, signing out.